I need to start this story by telling you something real. My name doesn't matter right now. What matters is what I'm about to share with you. A truth that changed everything, not just for me, but for everyone involved that night. And honestly, I never thought I'd be telling this publicly. But here we are. Let me take you back to where it all began. I was a lawyer, not just any lawyer. I was good at what I did. I had my own practice, my own clients, my own money. I was independent, successful, and honestly, I wasn't looking for love. That's usually when life decides to throw you a curveball, right? I met him at a charity event. He was working as a financial consultant, struggling to make ends meet. He had big dreams, but no real capital to back them up. We started talking, and I got pulled into his vision. He was charming, ambitious, and he made me believe we could build something together. I believed in him before he believed in himself. That's important to remember. When I say I helped build his empire, I'm not exaggerating. I invested my savings into his first venture, $200,000. My family thought I was crazy, but I saw the potential. I saw the hunger in his eyes. So I signed the papers, and we began. What followed were 5 years of absolute grind. I wasn't just his girlfriend. I was his CFO, his legal advisor, his everything. I worked 16-hour days. I missed family dinners. I missed my own life. But every sacrifice felt worth it because we were building something incredible. And it worked. His first company made millions, then tens of millions, then more. But here's where the story gets darker. Somewhere along the way, he changed. It was subtle at first. He started taking meetings without me. He opened business accounts I didn't know about. He stopped consulting me on major decisions. And when I asked him about it, he'd say things like, "You're tired, babe. I got this now." Or my favorite lie, "I'm just protecting you from the stress." I wasn't tired, and I wasn't stupid either. I started noticing other things. Late nights that turned into all-nighters. His phone constantly in his pocket. A new cologne I didn't recognize. Charges on our accounts for hotels in cities I didn't know he was visiting. I felt that old familiar ache in my chest, the kind that comes right before you find out something you're not ready to know. But I wasn't just going to confront him and ask if he was cheating. I had suspicions about more than that. I had a feeling something financial was happening too. So I did what I was trained to do. I investigated. I hired a private investigator. I know that sounds dramatic, but I needed to know the truth before I made any decisions. And the truth I got was worse than I could have imagined. He wasn't just cheating, he was stealing. From me. The investigator found documents showing he'd been moving money to offshore accounts. Accounts registered under shell companies and false names. I'm talking about millions of dollars. Millions from businesses that I had legally invested in and had ownership stakes in. I'd signed contracts, I had documentation, I had everything. But somehow he'd found ways to reroute the money, hide it, and make it disappear. And then there was the new girlfriend. Her name came up in emails and text messages. She worked in financial management. She was helping him do this. They weren't just having an affair. They were partners in crime. They were systematically stealing my money and building a new life together with it. And the scariest part, they had a plan to make me look unstable. I found documents showing they were building a case against me. False statements about my mental health. Recordings they'd manipulated. They were creating a narrative where I was paranoid, unstable, and unfit to manage finances. If they pulled this off, they could get me removed from everything. They could take it all. I felt sick. Literally, physically ill when I realized what was happening. But instead of falling apart, something shifted inside me. I'm a lawyer. I know how to fight, and I wasn't going to let this happen quietly. I gathered everything, every document, every email, every transaction history. I contacted my own lawyer, a different lawyer, someone I could trust completely, and I began building my own case. I filed charges quietly with the authorities. I documented everything. I made copies of copies. I prepared for war. And then, one ordinary Tuesday night, my best friend called me crying. "Girl, you need to see this right now," she said, her voice shaking. She sent me a video. It was from that restaurant, you know, the one downtown where all the wealthy people go, the one with the private dining rooms and the million-dollar wine collections. In the video, I saw him, my husband, on one knee, in front of what looked like 50 people, and there she was, the new girlfriend, crying happy tears, saying yes, a massive diamond ring catching the light. Everyone around them cheering, clapping, raising their glasses. My heart stopped, not because I still loved him in that moment. I didn't. But because I realized what was happening. This wasn't just about the affair. This was a public declaration. This was him and her telling the world that they won, that they got away with it, that they had the money, the happiness, the victory. It was a celebration of their theft. I sat there watching that video over and over. My hands were shaking, but not from sadness, from fury. Pure, clean, justified fury. And that's when I made my decision. I got dressed. I put on a black dress, the kind that means business. I called my lawyer. I told him to meet me at the restaurant. I grabbed the USB drive with every single piece of evidence on it, and I got in my car. The drive took 20 minutes. 20 minutes where I rehearsed nothing. I didn't rehearse what I would say. I didn't rehearse how I would walk in. I just let myself feel the anger, the betrayal, the determination. By the time I pulled up to that restaurant, I was ready. I walked through the front doors like I owned the place, because legally, I did. A significant portion of that restaurant was owned through shell companies that I had invested in. Those shell companies' ownership traced back to me through complicated financial structures. But that's not why I walked in like I owned it. I walked in like that because I was done being small, done being quiet, done being the victim in someone else's story. The room went absolutely silent when I walked through those doors. I could see him first. He was still glowing with the high of the proposal, still holding her hand, basking in the attention. But the moment he saw me, it was like someone had flipped a switch. The color drained from his face. Literally, I watched it happen. He went from golden and glowing to completely, utterly white. His new girlfriend didn't understand what was happening at first. She looked confused. She looked at him like, "Who is this?" But everyone else in that room seemed to sense something. The energy shifted. People started pulling out their phones. This was about to become very real, very fast. I walked toward him slowly, not angry, not sad, just present. And I started to speak. "Good evening, everyone," I said, and my voice was steady, cold, even. "I know this is awkward, but I need to introduce myself. I'm his wife, his legal wife. And I need all of you to understand something very important right now." You could hear a pin drop in that room. The man you just watched propose to this woman is a criminal. He's been committing fraud. He's been stealing money. Specifically, he's been stealing money from me for the past 3 years. These aren't accusations. These are facts with documentation. I pulled out the USB drive and held it up. Everything is on here. Every transaction, every offshore account, every email between him and her discussing how to hide the money and make me look unstable so he could take it all without legal consequence. His new girlfriend's face changed in an instant. She went from happy to confused to angry to scared. She let go of his hand. "What is she talking about?" she demanded. And then I looked at her directly. And I could see it click for her. She wasn't the villain in this story. She was a victim too. He had been using her just like he'd used me. "You were helping him," I said to her, but not unkindly. "Whether you knew it or not, you were part of this. But here's what I need you to understand. He had the same plans for you. Once he got what he wanted from you, once your usefulness was over, you were going to become unstable too. You were going to become the crazy girlfriend he had to get rid of." I could see it hit her, the realization that she wasn't his partner. She was his next mark. I turned back to everyone else in the room. "I've already filed charges with federal authorities. The police are outside right now. They're going to arrest him for wire fraud, money laundering, and theft. And the best part? All that money he stole? It's getting frozen. Every account, every asset. It's all getting seized as part of the investigation." And then I said the thing that made his knees literally buckle. "By the way, we're still married." You never filed for divorce, which means this proposal tonight. It means nothing. You just tried to commit bigamy in front of 50 witnesses while being investigated for federal crimes. His lawyer, who was apparently in the room, looked like he might have a stroke. Everything fell apart in that moment. Not theatrically, not dramatically, just completely and totally fell apart. The police came in, they handcuffed him. He didn't fight, he didn't yell, he just looked broken, like a man who'd finally run out of lies and had to face the consequences of his actions. But here's the twist that nobody expected. The new girlfriend? She turned state's evidence. She started singing immediately, not out of loyalty to me, but out of self-preservation. She had been involved in the fraud, and she knew it, so she cut a deal. She cooperated fully with investigators in exchange for immunity. She provided them with documentation, recordings, passwords to accounts, everything. Turns out, he had been planning the same thing with her that he'd planned with me. She was just earlier in the cycle. If I hadn't caught him when I did, she probably would have lost millions too. Eventually, he would have replaced her with someone else and started the whole process again. Within 6 months, he was convicted. Wire fraud, money laundering, theft. He's currently serving time. His assets were seized and distributed. Most of them came back to me because I had legal ownership. The irony is beautiful. The money he tried so hard to steal from me ended up being the thing that completely destroyed him. As for me, I didn't get everything back. The legal fees were astronomical. The emotional toll was real. But I got my life back, I got my independence back, and I got to stand in a room full of people and tell the truth without shame. That's what I want you to take away from this story. There are going to be moments in your life when someone betrays you, when someone you trusted completely turns out to be someone you don't know at all. And in those moments, you have a choice. You can stay quiet. You can pretend you didn't see what you saw. You can let fear paralyze you, or you can do what I did. You can get evidence. You can get help. You can get justice. You don't have to be the victim in someone else's story. You don't have to accept the role they've written for you. I walked into that restaurant that night, not to stop a proposal. I walked in because I'd already won. I'd already built my case. I already knew the ending. I just needed him and everyone else to see it too. Never underestimate a woman who's been pushed too far. We don't just break. We don't just cry and accept it. We analyze, we document, we strategize. And when we move with the force of someone who has nothing left to lose and everything to prove. That's my story. That's the truth nobody else told you. And if you've been betrayed, if you've been manipulated, if you've been made small by someone you trusted, I want you to know that it's possible to stand back up, it's possible to fight back, and it's possible to win. So like this video, subscribe if you want more stories of truth, comment below and tell me what you think about what happened, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because there are people out there right now being manipulated, being stolen from, being lied to. And maybe your share, maybe your voice, maybe your support will be the thing that helps them find their courage too. This is my story, and I'm so grateful I finally got to tell it.